Hello, everyone. It's me. So, you'll be glad to know that after a summer full of hay fever, my much better half has given me a cold, which results in the same symptoms. Great. Anyway, um, I came across this channel, Redmore Farm, specifically the item on the left of me, to my left, or next to me on the screen. Supermarkets are lying about British food. No, really? Cool. What next, eh? So, this has been a bone of contention with me for years. Ever since I became interested in farming in a very sort of prosaic fashion after the mad cow debacle. And I remember not so long ago having a conversation with a colleague of mine about meat eating and meat being expensive and all that stuff. And I said, we've built a system which has priced British meat so highly that nobody can eat it. And that if you actually look at the packaging, it'll say British meat on there, but it can't be not being sold for those prices. It just can't be. And this was a suspicion I had for years. Well, this gentleman, farmer here, seems to have outed my suspicion. So let's have a quick listen, shall we?
Which exposed the biggest supermarket meat scam you think?
So which exposed it? But before we get into it, do pop over to Radmore Farms. If this is something that you feel you'd be interested in, do subscribe to them also. Because it seems to me that he's... I don't have much time for activists. Much. I think they're great people morally, but so often they end up being misguided. But an activist farmer? I think I might be able to get behind that. Anyway, shall we?
You're buying British meat, but you are not. And the supermarkets are making millions from this. You have worked hard all your life for you and your family to just get it taken away from you. Let me show you. Which exposed the scam in 2024. It all began when Sainsbury's, Asda and Aldi were missing labels from fruit and vegetable. Lidl sausage rolls containing pork from Britain and some from not. But which is it? Aldi pies with a Union Jack slapped on it, but EU meat inside. Half the time these labels are just useless.
I remember years ago, there was a story that came out, I think it was a local story, as opposed to national BBC. And I may have to look this up again, but I remember there was something to do with the shenanigans around labelling, where it was agreed by the various people in power at the time around farming that as long as a pack of meat being sold in the UK contained more than something like, 48% British meat in some cases, they could label it British meat. And there was a bit of a scandal over that. I might be misremembering, but I think, and that really piqued my interest again, because it's like, we're just being lied to, surely. I mean, that doesn't sound right at all. And of course, it doesn't, because it isn't.
They're making it impossible for you to buy British. Morrison's limited edition ribeye steak, containing beef from Britain or Australia. Which one is it? There's no way for you to pick which one you want. And you know it'll be the Australian one in the packet, don't you? This is the same Morrison's that sponsors Clarkson's farm, plasters its shops in British banners. Farmers like me called it a betrayal. This farmer calls it fraud. These supermarkets want all the credit for saying they support British farms. But they don't. Marketing BS. This will kill British farming, not champion it. You want Britain.
And then we get onto the whole political question of farming across Europe and the way it's being, I was going to say suppressed, but let's call it what it is. British farming is being killed. And it's being killed, why is it being killed? I'm glad you asked. Sorry. It's being killed in favour of some plan by Bill Gates and other interested parties that want us to live on, if you believe the worst part of the story is bugs. You too can eat, I don't know, cockroaches? No, grasshoppers, is it? Locust, fried locust, mealworms. Because these are eaten in certain Eastern cultures. And of course they are full of protein. So on a technical level, cracking. But what would you rather have? A bowl full of mealworms or a bacon sandwich? Yeah, thought so.
You go into shops and buy British. You want better welfare, proper transport, genuine labelling, and a more thriving British economy. Supermarkets.
And that's all fair in a more thriving British economy. But I'll say something now. I don't know if he's going to mention it later. But after the mad cow disease, I think it was anyway. Costs went up wildly for meat because, in an endeavour to be super safe, British farming has had to show records for every step of an animal's life so that this doesn't happen again. But of course, if I remember correctly, mad cow disease was, or rather happened, because we were feeding cows. We were grinding up the leftovers of slaughtered animals and feeding them to animals that would eventually end up being slaughtered. They would be ground up and fed, or rather that ground up material would be mixed in with the feed, and more cows would be fed on that, and those cows would go into slaughter. What was left would be ground down, that would go into a mix with normal feed, blah blah, and so this cycle started, which meant that the cows were eating degraded nervous system material, and it was genetically affecting them. And it's the same process, if I'm not mistaken, for stem cell treatments. You can inject cells into a body and the body will take those on. Gene technology, I suppose. It's a wonderful thing and also a terrible thing, depending on how it's used. The point I was going to make. All the extra effort, to show the life of the cow, that costs money and time. All that was passed on to us, the customer. And proper British meat is an absolute luxury now, for normal people anyway. And by normal people, working class people, people who don't earn so much. I mean, we lived for millennia just having cows eat grass. Don't get me started on the whole cows farting methane thing for climate change as well. They're turning us into, just pale imitations of humans almost. There's this whole study now about plastics cancelling out testosterone in men, which is why men physically are starting to look more like women with larger hips and bottom halves and smaller shoulders. They're being born now more closely aligned genetically to women than men. How far we've fallen.
deliberately confuse.
Not him, of course. He's a fine figure of a man.
And to make more cash. Let's say British farm gate prices are £5 to £7 a kilo. The supermarket will then charge you £10 a kilo. Then they can get the imports for even cheaper and slip them in without you knowing, but still charging you British price. You pay more and they pocket the difference. It's not a level playing field.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. Here in the UK, we've been, as customers, we're treated as mugs. For people who aren't British, we're treated as fools. And for good reason, because guess what? The British consumer just bends over for it, frankly. We do. That's just the way it is. And we've bent over so completely, we're being shafted in holes we didn't even know we had, frankly.
And not compete with the import prices, less welfare, not the same standards as in the UK, pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. Every vague label is another nail in the British farming coffin. Now the government, they want this. There's no clear labelling enforcement in place, nothing by law. It's full of loopholes. This protects supermarket profits and does not benefit farmers or the consumer. We just need one law. Clear, mandatory labelling and enforce it. The government could just pass this tomorrow. Dead simple. But will they? They won't, because the supermarkets lobby harder than I can. But
and I've said this before about lobbying being a pox on politics across the planet. Lobbying should not only be disallowed, it should be aggressively outlawed. Aggressively outlawed. Because while there are people, just like me, who become MPs, who end up being attached to a department within government who, is responsible for our health and the food that we eat, and then some chap with polished fingernails in a very sharp suit says, we're championing this element of the market. We wonder if you might be able to help us with our program. And in order that you can see how serious we are about what we're doing for the country, for the British public, here, take this brown envelope full of cash. And that has such a detrimental effect, not just in the obvious taking the cash to influence policy, but you've then become a captured individual. You're no longer an honest politician. You've been bought and paid for. But hey, welcome to British politics, eh?
Need to get this written into law. So next time you're in Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Aldi, Tesco's, look at those labels, see how vague they are, and try and spot if they're
already did
away with selling you imported meat. This witch report came out in 2024, and not one supermarket has really tried to change a thing. And definitely no politicians have tried to do anything. They're hoping you forget about it. Who is this designed to protect? It's definitely not designed to protect you, not designed to protect me. If this pisses you off, share my post. Let's make some noise and get this fixed. I talk to all of you on my channels. You all agree with me brilliantly. You support British farms and you do your best to buy British meat. You can't do that if you're getting misled.
Or don't earn very much, unfortunately.
It's time to make a change. Don't forget to subscribe. I will keep fighting the battles for us all, and you don't want to miss that. And if you don't subscribe, I'll tell Bonzo.
Oh, don't tell Bonzo, for God's sakes. He's a nightmare. Anyway. Wow, what a video. Great, eh? By British. But I think there's an underlying issue with regards to the whole structure of farming here in the UK. And it's become overcomplicated. And along with what this gentleman is saying, I would like to see an inquiry about the state of farming in the UK. And that's not to say how bad it is, but how convoluted it's become. How can we simplify? How can we get back to what farming used to be? How can we then, in doing so, cut out unnecessary complication and cost? Because I think if, as he says in his video, he wants us to buy British in order to save British farming, it means more than just clarifying labels on the meat that appears on our shelves. But that's not a bad start, let's face it. It's a good start. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I dare say there will be some of you just go veggie. Well, for those people who just say just go veggie, we've got a bunch of scientists looking at plants. And it turns out plants have some kind of intelligence attached to them. Soon we'll be eating dirt. Oh, goodness. Do like, subscribe, and share if you'd like. Until next time, this is me signing off. Look after yourselves.